Hello everyone, Kurt Alfred here, and I'm here to talk about arming the Porta di Ferro. This is going to be a continuance in regards to the Posta perspective that I've been talking about recently in regards to how postures, they change and shift in regards to Fiore's wrestling guards and what we may or may not uncover as far as applying those movements altogether. Recently, I purchased a scabbard from Todd's workshop in regards to being able to hold my Albion mercenary and keep it protected from elements, and also be able to carry it a little bit easier as far as to and from my cutting sessions or training. This got me questioning because of how this setup and everything else, as far as how you fit the belt to you. This got me very much so curious in regards to how do I actually utilize this in a situation? How do I get the sword out of the scabbard if someone was to strike or attack against me? So again, I'm not trying to make this Aiujitsu and Bato Jitsu, but the concept of being able to take your armament out of its holster, out of its scabbard, out of everything is a consideration for anyone that has ever had weapons in their arsenal. So again, you have this long piece of metal attached to your hip. Maybe it's on a horse, maybe you're carrying the scabbard, whatever, but how do you get this out into action? So looking at some of the images I've seen in regards to manuscripts wise that you have, or historical documents, you see people wearing scabbards along the left side of their body all over the place, as well as the rondel in the right side. So playing with this a little bit, I got to do some test evaluation in regards to playing with how do you get this thing out, how do you move this, and what kind of plays do we find out from the manuscript within Fiore. The big thing that came to my mind was that basically the posture in which you are assuming is a variant of the Porta di Ferro, but we utilize the volta stabile to go backwards, to be in a rear-weighted position, to be able to move a different mechanism. This was an experiment in regards to, again, how do I have to safely get this thing out? And when I say safely, please understand that one of the big elements about this that I was considering is making sure I don't cut off my own fingers. That is a consideration, especially when you talk about how thin these things really are, especially if you're going for like a period piece, which I think is what Todd's workshop really works towards, getting towards. With that being the case, the big thing about that is, when you talk about activating this arm into getting into place, there's a set of movements that help us get to that. So I turn to a lot of the Japanese arts in regards to seeing how they did it. And my very, very, very limited and understanding of it all is how they push the scabbard, their saya, and the handle forward in a certain way, which allows the saya to go back into their sword belt, their obi, and to clear the blade. And they use their left hand to move to activate the drawing and the cut. Depending if this is a cut above, below, or straight or center, the mechanism of the hip and the holster and the scabbard is always different. What is this bias here as far as consideration with the longsword? The longsword works a little bit different, so you don't have the curvature of it all. And how it hangs on the hip, at least the one that I have, and I'm excited to try more in the future. Ultimately, this right here, it hangs. So I have a little bit of movement. And that was a big piece of the consideration here. Part of the reason, as I'm understanding with the Japanese sword, why they have to they're bringing the scabbard back to clear and to push forward. It's not just to get the sword out. It's to make sure that you also avoid cutting into the wood of the scabbard, as well as avoid the potential of cutting off your fingers, because it's not that robust of wood. With the European scabbard that I'm using to holster my my mercenary, it's actually thinner. So yes, there's wood in there, but it doesn't take much, especially when you start talking about a very, very keen sword. So playing with this was very precarious. And I will tell you right now, when it comes down to utilizing it, again, you start seeing motions about putting into the action. This required me to utilize the Porta di Ferro in a way, and then also the volta stabile, in order to be able to go into it. The positions in which I utilized were, again, being in Porta di Ferro in the waiting position, either stepping into it so that my left leg is back, doing a stable turn, and as I draw out, I'm drawing outward to posta longa and bringing across to make the cover. This is just a perspective here. I hope it sheds some light as far as what maybe you're playing with and seeing out there as well. So you can see in that video, I worked for a variety of different equipment levels, starting off with just an army jacket and then all the way up into having full armor harness with my brigandine. These had some very interesting features that also played into the factor of making a draw successful. A lot of the things that came into this too was with wearing a brigandine, now my waist is a little bit broader, so how I cinch the belt also does matter. Having a leather brigandine cover with a leather belt, things cinch together very tightly and there's not a lot of give. When it was just my army jacket, I was able to draw that out a lot easier and I had a lot more shifting there because I didn't have to worry about it rubbing and holding and fighting against me. The belt itself at some points in times actually made it difficult for me to grab because there was one point in time I reached across and I grabbed the belt rather than the sword. Having the dagger on the hip also was a factor because you would feel it wobble around. Arm harness made a huge difference there because one, your arm here within the rear bracers and your breastplate, they come together. So I don't have the same motion like to do this, and usually it'll stop about right here, which made turning mechanism so much more important. And I think it actually validates the importance of what Fiore is trying to say when he talks about his 3 turns of foot and of sword. But when I say it was, but with that being said, I mean, again, it was all I had to do was drop the arm because the added weight added a lot of force to it. So those are just some of the photos, some of the successful moments right there. I have no problem in showing my failures or my learning moments right here. In fact, those will be uploaded onto Facebook, onto my page. For anyone that's interested in there, look me up. Or if you're already friends with me, go ahead and take a look there yourself. Like I said, it'll be in the cutting section. So yeah, you'll get to see the full video of this right here, as far as all the things and all the discussion, everything else. Quick shout out to 2 people here. Benjamin Strickling, thank you so much for working with me on this, providing me the time, the space, the energy, and also, the tatamis to be able to do these things. I could validate this type of cutting. That was very helpful for me. And Ben, the more we go through this discussion about what this is and validating concepts, I feel it's really good and good work to do there. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, and I love doing the work with you. JD, Joshua Wiest, thank you so much also for the training in which we did the day afterwards, which was trying to build training drill concepts in regards to how do we actually put these things into action. The only footage I have right now of that is to be run at the very end of the video where he is charging me and I have to get my sword out and into action. It's a stress test thing to be able to understand, can I get this thing to work the way it needs to? But with that being the case, thank you both so much for the time, effort, and energy in me working towards understanding this more, so for better instruction, teaching, and also just understanding of the art. With that being the case, thank you so much everybody else for tuning in. If you like this, consider liking and subscribing. My personal goal is to reach 100 viewers and subscribers for this channel. I want to continue to bring this out more into the open, and your support and help will be most greatly appreciated. So again, if you like this, consider sharing with a friend, and hit that like and subscribe button for more video and content. In the meantime, as always, take care, everybody out there. Be safe, train well, and fight on.
Stay back, sir. Back!